A popular saying is nothing is ever lost on the internet, but what is something you have been searching for years and you haven't found it yet? This one comes from my mom. A Canadian, or American, based in Ontario, so we got any US channels, anti-smoking cartoon from the 70s or 80s, where a guy is smoking and says I should quit. This will be my last cigarette if I see a woman in a fur coat. And one immediately walks by, so he says wearing green shoes. And one does, and then walking a dog. On a diamond leash. Actually, it was a tiger. And then when a woman in a fur coat wearing green shoes walking a tiger on a diamond leash walks by, he crushes his cigarette up and the tagline goes, "What will it take for you to quit?" Been looking for it for ages and haven't been able to find it yet. The night that Tony Hawk did the first 900 back at the 99X Games, they played a music video-like thing with Feed as the perfect day showing all his misses and then finally the hit. It basically doesn't exist and it bothers me. There was a quote that I read on the title of a post that went something like, "Just because you've gone down 90% doesn't mean you can't go down another 90%. It's related to the stock market and can also apply to life. I've wanted to find out who said that for the longest." What color is Griglin gray? Grandfather always talked about painting his house Griglin gray, but I can find no reference for it. An Antique Roadshow episode where the appraiser asked the owner if they had cleaned a priceless Milanese helm. They responded, "I hit it with a Lil Lemon pledge," and the appraiser visibly shivers. That song I can kinda hum, but only know one word to, and to Google song lyrics plus love would clearly be ridiculous. An electronic copy of the Machine Gun Dealer's Bible, which I bet a co-worker years ago I could find. In an effort to prevent myself from owing him $5, I am still looking for it. A quote from a book, maybe Lundy Bancroft? About how to get a friend out of an abusive relationship. I want the original source. I believe it was in a question and answer format that ran a bit like this in ideas, but not phrasing. Q, my friend is in an abusive relationship, but she won't allow us to help her leave it. How do we safely get her out? A, you don't. You need to offer her the opposite of what her abuser is, choices. Allow her to socialize with whom she wishes, even her abuser, because he's probably isolating her. Forgive her for being flaky, because he may not be. Allow her to choose for herself even if you disagree with the choice, because that's the opposite of what he's doing. She has to decide to leave by herself. In 2003, there was a commercial for I think E-Trade where a CEO retires and hands the company over to his stoner bro grandson, whose entire press conference is him saying "I'm so stoked." Everyone dumps the stock immediately, and the ad was about how quickly you could trade using E-Trade. My family loved that commercial to the point where we had shirts made that said "I'm so stoked." I have looked through a lot of commercial compilations on YouTube, but have still never found that ad. Around 1999 I had borrowed a digital camera from school and took a lot of pictures of friends and stuff. It was back when people really didn't carry around cameras except for special activities. I remember uploading them to my brother's university Unix shell account to share with some people, but when he graduated and that account closed I lost access and didn't have any backups. I've been there, man. I was doing some data recovery on my mother's old computer after she passed away and came across a partial backup I don't remember making of a memory card I'd lost back in 1999. Handful of pictures of my friends and I that I'd been sure were gone for good. Just wish I had the rest. Back in 2006, a hard drive of mine stopped working, which was a huge blow because it had almost every picture I'd ever taken/scanned stored on it, along with a lot of other important documents. But for some reason, I held on to it for years in the hope that one day I'd be able to save up the money to get it professionally recovered, which can cost thousands. About 5 years later, I came across a forum post where someone talked about recovering info from a dead hard drive by replacing the drive's logic board with an exact copy from a working one. Figuring I had nothing to lose, I hunted down the exact same model/firmware version on eBay, bought it for $11, and about a week later swapped out the boards. And to my immense surprise, it worked. The BIOS recognized it, and when I booted into Windows, the OS recognized it, too. Opening those folders was like opening a time capsule, and everything was just as I'd left it. This video I think I found on Vimeo of these guys working at a bong shipping facility. Apparently a customer requested a video of the process of putting together their new order for shipping. These two guys put together a great video with them dancing to Maniac by Michael Sembello throughout it. I'd love anyone who can find what I'm talking about. Where the quote, "I wanted 16 candles Molly Ringwald, not pretty in pink Molly Ringwald," comes from. I know for sure it's in the show Psych. I don't know if it originated there, but I've been re-watching the show and I remember the line. There was this game on Windows 3.1 similar to the board game Life. You allocated time each day to studies, work, and rec in order not to end up a bum on the street or dead. Could it be Jones in the Fast Lane? Here's a video about it by LGR. An American, I think, movie I saw as a kid about a girl in the country and her cousin? A guy that was in a wheelchair that refused to go out. 90s, maybe 80s? Lots of golden hours scenes and bright photography. Around 12 to 13 years ago, I got into StumbleUpon, which was a Firefox extension that adds a button to your screen that takes you to a random page that someone marked as interesting. Once, I found a flash animation that portrayed a recreation of a white hat hacker doing a penetration test on a web application. The whole thing was a Linux command shell without any GUI. It started with an IRC chat where someone asked the hacker to look into his application and sent him a URL and another URL for the source code. After a sped-up 3 minutes of curl, grep, and SSH, the hacker built a command line script that can pull any username and email from the site. Never found it again. Around 10 years ago I was using StumbleUpon and found a website outlining a mysterious expedition into a New England wood where a portal to an alternate dimension allegedly exists. Something about a group that went into the portal and never returned. Something else about an upcoming expedition to follow the first. The alternate dimension is an America much like our own but uncolonized and pristine. There were even schematics to a sort of chair that made the trip easier. The most curious part to me was the direction for finding the forest and the expedition group, something to the effect of if you've found this website you have either been searching for us for a long time or you are meant to find us according to the will of the universe. If you are to continue your journey you will be able to solve the riddle hidden in this page. If you cannot solve this riddle you are not meant to find us. I'd be lying if I said this didn't pique my curiosity and I've been looking for the website ever since. I've attempted to figure it out with StumbleUpon and I swear I bookmarked the page but no such luck. All through school they taught us you can never truly delete anything online and even if you delete it someone can still find it. While this may be true if you seriously pissed off a master computer hacker but for the average person this claim is completely BS. I went on a few dates with a girl a few summers ago and I really liked her. All of a sudden though she just vanished. Like her Snapchat was deactivated, completely disappeared off Facebook, Instagram, everything. I tried texting her a couple of times but she never responded. I got a little worried because she's not the type of girl to ghost like that and she struggles with suicidal thoughts and mental health issues so you can see why this might be concerning. Since she wasn't responding and I didn't really know any of her friends to ask about her I went full social media creep mode to try and at least find out what happened to her. I figured if she had killed herself there would be something online about it. Well, I didn't find anything, like literally no evidence that this girl even existed besides a picture of her on her brother's Facebook page. I didn't even know she had a brother. He was just the only person that came up if you searched her name on Facebook. Googling her name also yielded no results. Since I could literally find nothing about her online, I figured she had just blocked me for some reason, and I eventually gave up. I tried searching for her on Facebook a couple times over the next year or so, but nothing ever came up. This past summer she popped up in my Snapchat friend suggestions, and honestly it was such a relief to finally see some evidence that she was alive. I added her not expecting her to add me back, but she did, and she actually messaged me. We met up again and went for a hike and grabbed dinner together to catch up. Turns out she was going through some rough times and didn't want to talk to anyone and disappeared, but she's doing much better now. Things didn't work out with us romantically again, but she's still one of my closest friends now.